All right, we are going to break in Greenzilla to fix Greenzilla. Well, not so much Greenzilla, but the welding cart. I love 95% of this cart, and the 5% I don't like is right down there. Those plasticky ass, just terrible wheels. The rears are fine because they're rubber, but it's almost impossible to move on my garage floor due to my coating. And those things are they're terrible. They feel like they're gonna snap off. I have to lift the back of the cart in order to either straighten the wheels or turn the wheels. They just don't have quality to them. So my first welding project is going to be to replace those cheapy wheels with these wheels. These are on ball bearings. Hopefully those are in focus. 1/8 of an inch thick plate and a locking front brake that both locks the rotation and horizontal and vertical, so kind of like a hospital wheel. Whereas those plastic wheels will only lock the rotation, and even that's try and get to the little lock that's recessed there. So naturally these screw holes do not align with anything similar to that. This is much bigger, so my plan is to tack these in. I'm not going to grind bare metal to bare metal, because this is going to be what I'll call sloppy MIG. Hopefully with the tacking and some minor welding it will get penetration enough so that the wheels will stay on. So we'll find out, but that's the plan, and I'll give you a close-up here in a second of these super cheesy wheels. So these bad boys are just that, turdy bad boys. Hard to get at that little brake. You have to get under the cabinet, twist the wheels to get at it, and just a bad design considering everything else on the cabinet. All right, so this is the plan. The way this fit, or mounted rather, was like that, and it just seemed like the wheels always wanted to be here, not here. So there is ball bearings in here, not quite as nice as this one, and it looks like with this cutout here, this is the perfect fit for a level, and puts it, I would say the wheel was right here on this one, and puts the wheel almost maybe an inch off, maybe half inch off center. So to me that's going to be the strongest, because I'll just tack it in, tack it, a little weld on the side and the back, probably not the front, maybe a little here, because not a lot of material to work with in case I have to cut it off if I mess up. But that's the plan. I will not be videoing the actual welding because I have no clue what I'm doing. Learning as I go. All right, Greenzilla is a virgin no more, and I'll talk about a couple things. It might not be completely obvious, but right now the cabinet is facing exactly perpendicular to me, whereas before I always had to have it at an angle. My garage is probably at a 30-degree incline, my driveway, and those wheels are facing forward, whereas before these wheels would have had to have been turned in order to use this as a deterrent, because this brake, this cheap shit device, was just that, cheap shit. And this is, not expensive. This is cheap shit too, but it's not as cheap as this. So this was a savior. I did not show how I welded because I would equate my welding to a child learning to use glue for the first time and trying to glue two pieces together by essentially throwing glue against the wood. that's about what my welds look like. So for a first timer, I'm not going to worry about it. And this was a great thing to cut my teeth on, because it actually took me a while to figure everything out. And I actually had to grind, because I was under the incorrect or a misperception that with MIG you could have I guess I misinterpreted dirty metal as coated metal. I could not ignite a spark against this powder coating, so I had to grind that off, and then once I had the ground against this, I was able to ignite an arc and get going. So messy, learning, lots of newness. I will say that these two things came in very handy. What is this called? Spatter spray, essentially, and nozzle dip. And this kept the nozzle quite clean. Heated up a little bit by some practice weld, and spray this as well over on the welding surface as well as on the tip. This can go on the tip too. And that kept my tip clean and my work surface easy to just wipe off underneath the areas that I didn't weld, that there was a little bit of splatter. So those wheels work. Obviously you can see they're in a locked position. The free floating or swivel capability, I had it in the garage. It's like gliding, like an ice skate on ice. It just glides around now, as opposed to fighting it and lifting it to turn it, because it's heavy with everything in it and on it. So this turned out quite nice. Cheap upgrade, good upgrade. And it's too bad HF didn't spend a few extra dollars, because the cabinet was like $170. I'd have paid another $20, $30 for good locking wheels instead of the cheap wheels that it came with. But it was also a good way to learn how to get the equipment functioning. And again, I was in the manual more than a few times, looking online to figure out why things were not working as I expected them to, when I thought I had the grounds right. Again, a learning process. So it came out great, and I'm happy with it. And now this moves around quite easily in the garage. On to the next project. So to many, this may not seem like a big deal. I could not do this, and I'm doing this one-handed while I hold the camera. I could not do this with my other wheels. They would not do what these wheels are now doing and allow me the flexibility, whoops, to move this around the garage as I need. So kudos, good stuff.